Shades on, knowledge wisdom.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Okay, for those of you who are just tuning into the show, I wear sunglasses because I want people to see. Sometimes people don't want to see the truth, but you will hear the truth. And whenever I have the shades on, it's some truth that you may not want to see, but you're going to hear it. And most people that are not born with a disability of deafness or blindness, they don't normally want to turn out both because, for one, if you're like me, I'm too curious. I call it curious, but it could be nosy. And for those of you who see me with this dark lipstick on and these dark shades, I want to share with you, most time you don't see me with this much darkness at one time. But I wanted to show you how just simple things that you do in when you wear your makeup, your sunglasses, whatever it is, you have to be careful because sometimes darkness is already on us. And this is the season for what is really a hard season for everyone. And it's even hard for me. And this is the November starts, well, late October, early November starts. It's called SAD, and it stands for seasonal affective disorder. And you have to be careful on how you portray yourself. There's a lot of things that go on, but nonetheless, let me get my guest on. He's here on the show. Well, let me make you a little bigger, since you're looking that small.
Yeah, I got to be a little bigger than that. Yeah, I'm like billboard signish.
Oh, billboard signish.
There you go.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Better.
Well, hello, my friend.
How are you doing today?
I am so well. Well, I was just sharing with them, and I know you were backstage and you heard me. You never see me in dark lipstick like this, do you?
No, it has to be a reason. There's always some type of formality or some type of symbolism if you got on dark, and it has to represent something.
Do you?
First of all, you look amazing. You look amazing.
Even with
always.
Even with the dark lipstick?
Always.
Well, thank you. Y'all, he's such a charmer, isn't he? Isn't he handsome, y'all? That's my brother there. That's my brother. Much love. But nonetheless, the reason why I have this on is because I wanted to show people that we're in a season where suicide rate is the highest. It's during the holiday season. And I want to share with people my story. And you've been a friend for a while, and you know some of the devastations I've had to experience, and how ironic. How ironic most of my tragedy has happened in November. The season where seasonal affective disorder really attacks the mind, the spirit, body, and soul. And how I have survived it has only been the grace of God. And what I wanted to do is give you an opportunity to ask me questions that you may know, that some people may want to know the answer to, or even if you don't, some questions that you may have. And I see you're reading the book, The Reality of Abuse, The Aftermath and the Recovery, which I'm sure sheds a lot of light to you, a light as to who I am for you on the inside. People see the outside of me and they don't really get to see the inside, but that book has a lot of the inside, the former inside of me, and how I've had to fight to become the new me. But I didn't want to make this appear to be rehearsed, scripted, or any of that. So when you're ready to ask questions, and as you know, you see the flyer has disorganization, distractions, disability, disappointment, destruction. And these are my 5 realities that I have to keep in mind consistently, because if I don't keep those in mind, something's going to derail. And this DIS. That's why everything starts with this. And they are my realities that I must remember. But anyway, y'all, we're getting ready to get into some truth. So it's time to take these shades off and let's get going.
First of all, let me first say my prayers as always to you, because I know this is a struggle with your life that started at an early age that spilled over into your childhood. Well, spilled over into your adulthood. I apologize. Spilled over into your adulthood, which sometimes can make you dysfunction in relationships, can sometimes make you dysfunction in yourself. And it's always a daily struggle because you cannot erase the movies in your mind psychologically. They're repeated daily. But let me tell y'all about this amazing book right here. This book right here is Volcano. I'm talking about Lava from Volcano, The Realities of Abuse, the Aftermath and the Recovery, by the Honorable Dorothy Patterson, man. This book right here is a great book, when I tell you, it's one of the books that you would actually want to pass on to someone else. It's something that you don't even have to be a person of abuse, but it gives you the mirror of things that go on in a person's mind, and to see how functional a person is today. You would never know that they went through that. This is the blueprint that actually could have either made her, destroyed her, or killed her, either way. So I want to say, first of all, congratulations for continue, because it's a daily struggle. It's a daily, because like I said, it's psychological. It lays on the floors of your mind, because no matter how you look at it through life, you look at it, even when you're grown and everything and seem like it can stop, it never stops with you, because what happens is you use it as a rearview mirror. Every now and then it can be a touch, a word, a thought, even sometimes your dreams can sometimes reflect back to something that happened to you, a childhood drama. So I'm continuing to pray for you. And I like want to say, you look amazing. No one would actually know how much that you've been through. But first of all, when did all of this, I want to know exactly, when did this start, at what age?
Well, as far back as I can remember, I was 5 years old. I do remember that. And the reason why I can just remember it like it was yesterday is because I used to have this little red, back when I was younger, we used to have little red coats, and my mother has always dressed us in the best of the best. I used to have this little red coat that had a hoodie on, and it was a cape. And I was about 5 years old, and I used to call it the Little Red Riding Hood cape. And I would wear that to school, and I was in kindergarten. So 5 years old is as far back as I can remember, but it could have started sooner, but that's as far back as I can remember.
Now, condensedly, if you can possibly, can you like just sum it up? Just explain at 5 years old. Give us just a small snippet of the abuse that was happening, so we can lay out a foundation and help people and our viewers and whoever you are to know exactly what are we talking about. Because there's all kind of abuse. There's physical abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse. There's all type of abuse, and nowadays we're coming up with all kind of abuse. Some of it is just something that's made up for financial gain and currency and attention. But we're talking about something that happened to you when you was 5 years old, and we want to just get like just the gist of what are you talking about as far as when it comes to the abuse. What type of abuse? And we want to know exactly who the predator was.
Okay. Well, the abuse started with just basically being my friend, which wasn't abusive to
Grooming.
me. I'm exactly. I am a 5-year-old child, so I wasn't getting that much attention because all of my siblings were older and they were in school, and he would pick me up from school and keep me until someone, whether it be my mother or my older sisters and brother, would get home from school, and he would keep me. And this was my stepfather. And what was
his occupation?
Well, at that time he was he worked for Greyhound, and then he was also a practicing minister. He hadn't become a pastor yet. He was a minister, but he was in the pulpit.
A man of the cloud.
There you go.
A man that's supposed to have, this is supposed to be somebody that you're supposed to trust. If you can't trust a minister, a person at church to violate you, then it's something else, but not to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, and he really didn't start violating me right at that moment. What happened is,
let me put my glasses on.
Let me put my shades on, because y'all, this is some dark truth you may not want to hear, but you're getting ready to hear. You may not want to see it, but you're getting ready to hear it. So nonetheless, so for those that don't want to see it, you're gonna hear it. nonetheless, he started out being, of course, my friend, playing with me when nobody else would play with me, giving me the affection and attention that I wanted. So fast forward, I believe when I turned about 6.5-ish, it went from playing just general little fondling games. He started fondling, of course. It went from little fondling games until to me going.
But your innocence, but your innocence can pick up on that, because innocence is innocence. You don't know. It's an adult that's supposed to be my guide and supposed to be my counselor that's actually fondling me. But in my innocence, I don't recognize and can't put two and two together, because I think this is the way that a trusting adult that I love is supposed to behave. Correct?
Yeah, and then I love to play house. I love to play with Barbies. We had a big fancy dollhouse. We had everything, as kids. I mean, we had it. So I would play house and he would play with me. And it started out playing house and doing little things like that. And then before I know it, it went from me rubbing his shoulders to sitting on the bump, his sitting on his lap where the bump was, is what I referred to it as. Didn't know what that was at 5. So then it went from that to the bedroom.
About a year and a half. You say from 5 to 6.5. So he prepped you and groomed you for a year and a half.
He got me to totally trust and
rely on him.
Rely on him would be, I guess that would be the word. But at that age, I do not know. He got me to completely believe that he was my best friend.
Okay.
Even though in my mind, what was going on wasn't right. But then a man of God surely wouldn't be doing the wrong thing.
Where was your mother? Where was your mother with all this?
My mother was working. She was a workaholic because she liked to live a certain lifestyle, and she was definitely a workaholic. She was at a beauty salon working.
Were there other siblings? Were there other
Yes.
siblings in the home with you?
Yes, and come to find out, there were 4 above me and 2 underneath me.
Male or females?
1 male, 3 females. And the 3 older sisters, he had done the same thing to them as well. Found this out later down the line, but he had done the same thing to them as well. And I don't know the depths of what he did to them, but I do know he did fondle them and he did do the touching and the grooming and all of that. But nonetheless, with me, he went from fondling me to inserting fingers, the finger play, and then he went on to try to penetrate. And
how long did this abuse go on? From 5 to what?
I would say about 9-ish, 9.5-ish, 10-ish. And the only reason why it stopped is because I would hear my older sister talking about their menstrual cycle, and so I said that I did. I started mine, and that was when it appeared to have stopped the actual physical trying to penetrate, but all the other stuff continued on until I was maybe 11. So
you're saying for 5 years, 60 months, for 5 years that this went on, and your mother had no idea. She worked so much that she didn't pay attention to her children or the behavior patterns or something like that. And the reason why that you didn't say anything is because,
first of all, women, I would like, well, let me not say that right now because that'll come down later. But my mother knew what was going on. Whether she said something or not to him, I don't know. But the reason why I didn't say anything is because he convinced me that she would never believe me. And then he would put me in situations to where it would validate what he was saying.
Meaning? Give us an example.
Meaning, if, say for instance, if I wanted to go, he would say I could go outside and play. Knowing that my mother had already told us that we couldn't go outside and play. But once he said something, it was like the truth. So I would say, could I go out and play? And he would say yes. And no sooner than my mother gets home and sees me outside playing, she's upset because I shouldn't have went outside to play.
Was your mother, your stepfather, the primary breadwinner? Your mother or your father? Or was it equal? Or you don't know at the time?
Just one moment. I got to bag away for a second. I don't know what happened. My battery just went away. Just hold on. I can still keep talking, but I'm just going to turn off my camera for a second. My mother, she was the primary. Well, I guess they both were, because my mother worked at a prominent hair salon where she made good money. Really, she did. And he worked for the school district. So at this time we had moved, and he became a minister. We moved to a town called Marble Falls, and he was working for the school system. So he was making great money.
So you got so now you're telling me you got a predator that grooms little girls that's working in a school system where they're still children.
Well, I'm not sure about what he did. Well, yeah, he was a predator that groomed us, or groomed the children in the household, the girls in the household. But I'm not sure what he did to the.
You would never know.
Well, it seems like people adored him so much until it seems as though
they wouldn't have believed it anyway.
There you go. They wouldn't have believed anything.
Once again, we're talking about The Reality of Abuse, the Aftermath and the Recovery by the Honorable Dorothy Patterson. Man, this is a wonderful book. If I wanted to get this book and purchase it, how would I get it and purchase it?
You can go on Amazon, and it's there.
Okay. That's the book, y'all. The Reality of Abuse.
Inbox me. You can also inbox me and get it that way too. And to say more, I don't want to stay on that, because I don't want people to. I don't want to stay on the physical abuse that I went through, because it's it's still kind of. I won't.
Okay, I apologize. I know.
No. I want people to understand what it does to people. It is really traumatizing and taxing, and that's why I wrote the book the way it's written, The Reality of Abuse, the Aftermath, and the Recovery, because there's so many mental phases that you go through dealing with abuse and trying to gather your sense of wherewithal, for lack of a better word. Meaning each chapter in that book has a meaning behind it, a significant meaning. And I want people to see that your mind is all over the place. And if you do not think on things that are pure, think on things that are good, you will find yourself in topsy-turvy for a long time, which I was. You don't know which way is right. You don't know which way is wrong. You just go through life like that's what you do.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at some of the book is awesome. Like the first chapter is called My Fairy Tale is Over. When I tell you, listen, this woman here has a phenomenal mind. When I tell you this book, her dreams and her mind has spilled into an epistle. This is a hidden epistle. If you're trying to get the gist of something in your life, and listen, you don't even have to be a person to go through abuse, but this book will break it down psychologically and socially to show you exactly the guidelines and how things are going. And it's so vivid and so graphic. When I tell you, this is what I call epistle crack. This is epistle crack, man. This is inky epistle crack. Because once you started reading this, you're not going to be able to stop. Listen to me. And listen, I'm not tooting no horn. And if it was a bad book, I'll tell you, hey, it's okay. But this book right here is what we call a Dr. Phil's psychological therapeutic mindset that will give you, even if you've never been through abuse, this would give you the guidelines to a person that has walked through a nightmare and came out to a radius of light. And you would never know. It's just like a caterpillar. If you look at a caterpillar, as nasty as it is, and guess what? Eventually, what happens to the caterpillar? It turns into a butterfly. That's what this book is about right here. Y'all get it. The Reality of Abuse, the aftermath and the recovery. This book is by the Honorable Dorothy Patterson. Go on Amazon and get this book. This book, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've read a lot of books, studio psychology, abuse, domestic violence. But this book here is a gumbo. When I tell you, if you're trying to, it's worth whatever you got to spend. It's worth whatever you got to spend for this book. And once again, I want to say congratulations on the book. Me personally, I believe it's a movie. This would be a Oscar nominated thing on Lifetime. If this turns into a movie, this would help and heal a lot of women and men, because it's not just women go through this, because we don't want to see, because one thing about abuse has nothing to do with gender, age, mental capacity, or financial capacity. You can be rich and still go through this, man. It makes no difference. Abuse is abuse. And if a person has targeted you for something, it does something. But let me stop talking about this. Come on, okay, so moving on. Now that you're older, now you're a teenager, did you ever come to a point in your life when you was functional? Like as a teen, you cheerleaded? Because I saw you before, and you real fine. You real fine. You real fine. When I tell you she's a very, very sacredly sexy woman. I guess I can say that. She's very so even though this is going on with you, but you looking at me, your body's developing, everything is popping out, the hips and this here. So did you ever have a time when there was a mental oasis in your life where you can just be in the desert, which was the desert of your household, but you can always go into that water, that oasis, and be relaxed in life?
No. Because I did not know, I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to have a nice figure. I didn't want to have any of that, because I was trying to figure out what made him think it was okay to do this to me. What did I do? I mean, I started trying to hide my figure. I played basketball. I was a track star. I stayed in athletics and doing things of that nature. I tried out for cheerleader. But then I got to thinking, maybe not, because I didn't want the attention that came with it. And besides that, anyway, to have the frame that I had in that day and time in the 80s, it wasn't popular to have the itty bitty waistline, the hips, and the breasts in the school that I was in, because I was in a predominantly white school. So me being shapely, I was considered to have too big of a butt, and my lips was too big, my nose was too big. I just was not what that was at that point in time in the 80s. Now, the Lord knew. The Lord knew. He could give me what he
not
gave
only
me.
not only did you go through physical abuse at home, but you went through social abuse at the school, because you went to a predominantly Caucasian school that didn't understand your African American traits, that you're supposed to be thick and voluptuous, which they would call you, because to some Caucasian and other ethnic group races, that you're overweight, but you're just how God wants you to be. But they don't understand that. Even though everything in reverse now you got people of other ethnicity trying to look like you, and you trying to look like them.
Well, they were always doing it. That's why they had perms. They would put curls in their hair. Whereas we had already had the net, so they would go out and tan. So everything that they would do, they were already doing what we wanted to do. I just couldn't see it at that point in time, because it was more against what I had going on, making it look bad. But then I'm looking at them trying to do what I was doing. So to answer your question, no, I was not a cheerleader, but I was an athlete that tried to. I mean, I stayed athletic, because I figured if I kind of cut myself up a little bit, then maybe no one would find me attractive. But then once
so for 5 years, you said he was practicing, he was working here, but within the 5 years, did he ever become a pastor or a minister? Within the 5 years,
he became. I'm sorry. Let me back up. We moved to Marble Falls because he became the pastor of a church.
No guilt, but come on.
No guilt. And that was when I was about, maybe we moved there when I was about six and a half, somewhere up in there. So he was molesting me while he was the pastor of the church.
Okay.
Well, let me.
But unbeknownst to you, you don't know if he was doing the same thing to your other siblings at the same time.
No, I don't. But I know he has, in hindsight. I don't know to what extent, but I know he did it. But here's my thing. I hate for people to say the cute little word molested. No, he was raping me. I don't understand why it's called molested when it's a little child. But if a man is physically trying to penetrate you,
that's right.
without your consent, it's even worse. I don't even know if that's even a strong enough word for a child to experience that at the hands of a grown man. I don't know. You know, I don't know if that's molest, rape. I don't even know if those are strong enough words to define what a child goes through.
So were you functional in school between the 5 year period of all of this going through? So were you like was you withdrawn? Was you only withdrawn? Was you happy outside the house? And then when you get home, you'd be unhappy because you knew what's going on because you're saying your mother. So you saying, and I can understand a person that does her is always called. I mean, they could be doing her to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's a long time to be with someone that's with your children, and they have to have a trust factor. So that means when he became the pastor, your mother was the first lady.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she had no inkling. So you telling me she had no inkling?
Well, I can tell you. Well, let me just tell you. I can't. That's not true because come to find out, let me speed it up because it's in the book, but I don't want to get. Well, I guess I can tell the book. It's in there. It's written in there how this all took place, and that's why I kind of seem evasive because I don't want to just tell all the book, but it's intriguing to hear about what went on in the book and how it all transpired. Come to find out, I believe my mother, I know my mother knew because of the questions she asked me, and it's written in the book. So if you want to know, it's in that book exactly why I know she knew. And
you have some, my God, you have some chapters in here that just, I don't even want to say it. Like you got one, oh my God. This chapter 8, the pulpit performer.
Oh, the pulpit performer. And I named it pulpit, PULL dash PIT. Pulpit. He pulled you into the pit, but he was in the pulpit. And that was sickening. That was horrible. But at the age that he was in the pulpit, I thought it was literally a pulpit, but then I was kind of confused.
Pulling you in the pit.
There you go.
Pit of hell.
There you go. And
you have such a creative mind. You have such a creative mind, and you think you're like a combination of Tyler Perry and Carl Weber with a little dash of Stephen King, you know, and it's very, very, very rare that you find a book that intrigues me because I'm a writer. Remember, I'm a writer. In your wording and your grammar, your verbiage, you have a very good parlance in this book. When I tell you that it's very well put, and I'm gonna say it again, y'all. The reality of abuse, the aftermath, and the recovery. You need to go to Amazon and get this. Listen, I don't really talk about a lot of books, but this is one of the books that not only can help you, but it also can enlighten you to the world of someone that have been groomed, taken advantage of, and came out like a diamond. But you will never know the things that went through to get to the point where she's at now. Because looking at you right now, as beautiful as you are, no one could even think about that. No one would even think that you went through anything like that because you don't allow your past to dictate your movement in the future of being who you are. But I know that this still will haunt you. And sometimes the question, okay, so now you 10, now you in school, now you at this Caucasian school dealing with psychological abuse at school and physical abuse at home. Okay, so as time go on, okay, you're a teenager now. So did it stop with you being a teacher? Because now that you're popping out, you're blossoming, did you like get away? You still in the household with this guy and your mother. I'm gonna call him this guy because he's not a stepfather because a father is the person that protects. So this is just a guy that's in the house with you that your mother's with. Now she's aware of it, but she don't want to say anything about it because she don't want it a complication. Why do you think that she did not address this as your mother?
Because she was in her own torment. She was in her own torment. Come to find out that it happened to her. And these things are generational things. And they keep going and going and going until someone breaks the cycle. And there is a chapter in there that really explains that how it goes on. it's so, and y'all forgive me if I sound aloof. It's because there's so much that he's saying that I want to elaborate on, but then the book has it all in there, and it really tells you how I dealt with this. I had to find God, and the hardest part for me was, I remember I didn't write this in there, but I broke down and I'm like, God, how in the world do you expect me to trust you when the man that has brought me to you is the one that's hurting me? Figure that out. And then, like now, even let's fast forward. Let's put the book to the side for a moment. I'm writing book number 2, Healing Through Hell. Father, how do I keep trusting you? Matter of fact, not how, why? And let me tell you, you all, the reason why is because I go back and I read the glorious stories of after everyone chosen. That's when God said, many are called, few are chosen.
True. I was looking at the chapter, Associate, Friend, or Enemy, and I was looking at the dialogue with you and your mother when you was a little girl trying to tell her, and she downplayed it and said to you, he wouldn't do anything against. In other words, she was a lawyer and prosecutor for the person that was raping you, which detached the fellowship and motherhood parental guidance between you and your mother, because then on, she became the enemy. Because I know now that you love your husband that's doing this, maybe not only to me, but to others, but you're not thinking about that then more than you love your child.
And that, and to this day, even when he passed on, at his funeral, I was just like, okay, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at all my siblings and I'm like, okay, who's going to go get her from up there holding on to his casket? Literally gripping her nails into the casket. I had to finally say, Mom, you're free to live now. He's gone. Live your life. And believe it or not, she's still not living.
What happened to, how did he, not to be, but how did he die? How did he pass away?
Cancer, but it's in the book.
Okay.
And it tells you how you have to fight in the, like Joyce Myers put it, the battlefield of the mind. It's really serious. And I had to realize my mind mattered. My mind.
So, okay. You grown, I mean, you fine. So that means outside of the Caucasian, predominantly Caucasian school you go to, brothers digging at you. So your first relationship, were you functional in your relationships in your teens, in your 20s, in your 30s? Because I'm understanding now. What are you? What you 32 going on 19? How old are you? Because you look like, what, you 32 going on 19?
Well, I'm actually 18.
Okay, thank you. I knew I wasn't that far away, but anyway.
No, actually, in real time, I'm 56.
Look at that. 56 looking like 26.
Well, look now. You know, y'all. This is my good friend, y'all. Let me tell you, he my good friend. But you know what though, y'all? But let me just sidebar real quick. If he get up one more day calling me about this book,
oh yeah, this book is fire.
I promise y'all, he is not. When I tell you he is not kidding, he calls me every morning. Oh. I mean, to see someone, I guess because he knows me and he never knew that I went through so much. And this goes back to what you're saying. In my relationships, I was able to function because he groomed me so well to be happy when I needed to be crying and cry when I should have been happy.
One of the greatest actors on earth. So you was a role. So in other words, you had been script so much to every situation with him. You knew how to script on point to the point of life. You knew how to even pretend and be on a stage. Any stage that somebody put out to you, you knew exactly how to go.
I was so
a terrible
good
way to live.
I was so good at it. I auditioned for a play and got the lead role and had never did any acting.
Wow.
Because I was that good at it. And putting on different personalities and different personas, that is certainly something that I used to do. Fast forward now, this is why I go by the reality coach. I do not allow anything to keep me from being who I really am anymore. If
Do
I'm
you know? Do you know that I'm sure that there's millions of people that has a silent story that their predator or predators has put in them, where they have been sealed and shut, even in their adulthood, they can't speak about it. There's this song by Daryl Coley called "Silent Scream," and I played it once before, but it's called "Silent Scream," and he speaks about a lot of things. But with you, once again, let me just say congratulations on just life in general, being here, because the average person sometimes couldn't handle it. Suicide, drinking, drugs, alcohol, prostitution, promiscuity, AIDS, hurt. See, all these are outlets, cousins, and relatives of a person that went through some type of sexual abuse growing up. And it can't spill over. And sometimes it do, and it does spill over to your adulthood, where you're no longer, and then you be wondering, why am I drinking like this? And like, girl, what is wrong with you? But you can't even talk to him or her, because every time that you see them or they say something to you, it's one key word. And when you instead of seeing their face, you see the violator's face. You see or when you with a person and they touch you a certain way, or they doing something with you a certain way.
smell. For me, it was his smell.
What?
Now, mind you, he was a drinker and a smoker.
Wow.
And he smoked and drunk so much it was a stench to my.
So if you meet a man and he got smoke coming out of him and he drank all that, that's a direct turn on, and in other words, it's a key. It's a key attachment to something to your past. And dude, like, why do you want to talk to me? If I told you, you wouldn't even understand it.
Even if a man had hands or fingers like he had.
Ooh,
and I did not, and to speak to date someone that's fair skinned, will not do it. But I did try, because I wanted to break that part of me, but it was too much. I just couldn't do it. My mind. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, see, the common and it's called constant exposure to trauma. So now I have become trauma transparent. And anything that leads me back to trauma, I speak about it. And I believe that's what's wrong with the world today. We're told to shh, and we shouldn't do that, because that's how your mind goes into a don't matter state for you. That's how people are constantly able to dictate how you move, what you wear, how you look, what you eat. I mean, it's just a constant trauma.
So we're talking about the reality of abuse, the aftermath, and the recovery. We're talking to the Honorable Dr. Patterson, and I want to ask you a question.
I'm not no doctor. See, y'all, he just a mess, y'all. He just threw that in there.
Dorothy Patterson. I believe that anything that you've done, that you've been through, that you are a doctor. You got a PhD in acting, and you got a PhD in life. You are Dr. Dorothy Patterson. What would you say to a person right now that's listening to this or looking at this? I'm talking about man or woman, rich or poor, black or white, whatever ethnic group. What would you say to them to help them? Because you have people that are crumbling in mental institutions, drinking, drug addiction, or all of them at once. And a lot of times they put you on these medications that ain't doing nothing but doctoring your schizophrenia, doctoring your mental. And what it is, what would you think? We don't want to break no cycle. We ain't breaking nothing. We need to destroy something, because if you break some, if I break these glasses, I can put them back together. So we're not breaking generational curses. We need to destroy them, because the word of God said that you need to destroy the yokes. We don't want to, and that's what's wrong with the church. We're breaking too much. We're breaking fornication, and in 3 months I'd have met another girl and I'm back to fornicating because I didn't destroy it. Because listen, watch this. Look, if I bust a bump on my face, if I don't get that head up out of there, that little black thing, it's gonna come back again tomorrow. It's gonna form back up. So you gotta destroy and get that up out of there and get it out of there. You can't leave it in there, because it ain't gonna do nothing but redo itself. It's gonna be a bump again. So what would you say to a person? Because each person is different. And I'm not saying that this is the catalyst of what you need to use, but I'm saying, what would be your advice? Okay, if you was a person and you was talking to the little girl in you that went through that, what would you say to that little girl to help them to get along through life, to help them to deal with this? outside of drugs. Because sometimes, not to keep going, sometimes these situations make these girls promiscuous. They have 8, 9 kids because they're trying to run from something. You're running from something. You're trying to run. You can't run from your mind. You can't run from what you see and your think of what you've been through. So what would be your suggestion, or what would be the gist of, or the guidelines, or the blueprint of something that maybe can help a person? Not no put no. We don't want to put a Band-Aid on something because it's still upon. We want to see what can we do to start the healing process.
Know that it had nothing to do with you. It was nothing you did. It's an illness that that person suffers with. And because they didn't get healed, they want to inflict it on you. So it had nothing to do with you. So do not beat yourself up for being where you are. If you find yourself in a situation where pain is your partner, figure out how to get someone new. Meaning, and the best way to do that is speak about it. And you will find out you're not the only one. There's so many people out here that have been through this. Do not blame yourself for someone who's selfish. And then another thing, be understanding to a degree. My stepfather was sick, but then come to find out in the book, it's passed on. If nobody deals with these demons, it's going to pass on. And that's why the Bible speaks of generational curses. They are real. And let me tell you, mothers, if your child comes to you and says something about someone, that was my stepfather, okay? My mother brought this curse upon her children because she brought him into our world. And she knew that he had did it to my older sister, so I couldn't understand why I even had to experience it. So all I will say to you, the best advice that I can give you is to do not blame yourself. Do not blame yourself and speak your truth. It is what it is. You're not the only one.
A generational curse is an evil spirit or demon that recycles a stage through each generation. It sets a stage and it enters someone, not physically. Sometimes it's what they call seducing spirits. It whispers something to the next generation that deposited a thought. And then sometimes they hear about a story, what happened in the past, and then it ignites. They did that to them, but they keep formulating it. And this spirit goes from generation to generation to generation. And until you destroy it, and the only way that you can destroy that is actually through what she just said, the format. But each person has their own formula or situation where they can help themselves. And sometimes you don't even know what a generational curse is. You just think that, oh, I heard you, well, my daddy was a drug, my daddy was a killer, so I'm being a killer. Guess what? You just asked killer to come into your life. Oh man, my mama used to drop it like it's how I be at them clubs. You can speak your generational curses in your mouth through your mama. Oh, you're gonna be just like your daddy. He ain't gonna be nothing but a robber. So you gotta, in the word of God said what? In the book of Proverbs 18, was it 22? It say you either speaking words of life or death. And the book of James says that sweet water and sour water can't come out of the same trough. So we gotta watch what we say, because you gotta watch what you say, because anytime that you're speaking, whoever you are in this world, you're either speaking words of life or you're speaking words of death. And if you're speaking words of life, the word of God said that the angels would carry it on, because if it's sprinkled with the word of God, angels have to go about and do their duty. But if you're speaking negativity and evil, guess what? Them demons got to go out, and guess what? It ain't gonna come back void either. It's gonna come back on your life, or on your children's life, on your children's life, on to the third or fourth generation. It might skip 2 generations. So, not to get all biblical, but I'm saying you got to, because I know you're a spiritual woman. But we're talking about the reality of abuse, the aftermath, and the recovery by Dr. Dorothy Patterson, man. When I tell you, when I say doctor, because anyone that can eloquently put a book like this together and have me where I can't even go work out, I'm like, I'm driving. I'm like, man, I'm at the people, man, I'm like, this is a good book.
But you know what? And here's the thing about that book. I find it so strange that people that know me, a lot of women want to hear more about the gore versus the mind. I don't want to,
because that's what they because maybe they've been through it and they're trying to see how they can come out and talk about it. See, sometimes people will ask you questions about something because they'll be like, "Hey, you ever had somebody talk about? Well, my friend want to know, where you buy that dress at?" But they're really talking. They're the friend. So sometimes people want to know the gore because sometimes, remember, we're in a day and time now where rumors. Listen, just make sure that you got good information when you start rumors. Good information is essential to any type of thing that you're trying to do. People want the negative toward the good. Remember, people, man, don't you know a lie can be started and people would rather hear a lie about you than the truth.
well, but one thing I know about a lie, though, let me tell y'all, one thing about a lie, it's going to always tell the truth on you. Always. Don't ever think that lie ain't gonna come back and tell the truth on it. It'll let you lie on it as long as it can stand it. But then it will come back and tell the truth on you and release more truth than you want it to be released. So
okay,
I'm just saying.
Okay, as a 24-year-old woman, as you are right now, as a 24-year-old woman, and doing your relationship course with people, what is the number one problem that you can see in your relationships, not on the man's part, but on your part? What do you see that's something that you need to work on? Maybe something, because I think that let me just say me, I think in my life, let me answer for myself real quick, it's communication. I think that sometimes when you're talking to somebody and you're in a relationship with somebody that's speaking Hebrew and you're talking English, sometimes it's kind of hard to decipher what a person is saying vocally when you're doing dialogues with a person. I've always had a problem with communication, and the way that they, the tone or the slick mouth or the slick talk, because sometimes even you and me, our mouth can be our enemy. So the word of God says you need to be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Well, the problem that most people have with me in relationships today is they're not ready for someone like me because I'm so transparent.
You shine too hard.
I'm transparent. It is what it is. I am who I am. I'm not going to pretend to be happy anymore. If I'm not happy, you're going to know I'm not happy. If I'm happy, you're going to know. Let me just rephrase that. People aren't ready for me because they're so used to being around happy people. But when they get around someone that's got joy, they have a hard time. I have joy. So man can't bring me happiness. Mm. And since man didn't give me this that I have down off in me, man can't take it. That's why this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me, and the world can't take it. And that's the one thing that I've learned through all of this, the difference between happiness and joy. Joy is not something that you can put on one day and pick up another day. It's in you. It's who you become. It is who you are. You can be happy, but you can only become joy.
Have you thought about a workshop with this?
I have an actual workbook, a reflective journal.
So you're holding out on me. So you're holding out on me.
Well, not really, but I'm just saying there's a reflective journal, but I really would like to. The problem with this is a lot of people are not ready.
Yeah, you're right.
They're not ready, and they're still battling with the disses in their life, the DISs in their lives, which are, and I quote to you, the disses in my life were disorganization, distractions, disability, disappointment, destruction. Did
you get any counseling? Any therapeutic counseling for this? Well, have you ever had any counseling about this?
Well, now let me put these on.
Let me put mine on too, because I can already see it coming. Come on.
I tried to go to counseling. But what could a counselor really do for me if they haven't walked in my shoes?
Mm-hmm.
Experience is the best teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Education gives me the credentials, but experience gives me the credibility. And there's nothing wrong with people who get the education, yes, and society to me today has made it become an educational thing because of, people make money off of this stuff. They make money from it. But what does it look like for me to go sit in front of someone who asks me, so how did that make you feel?
The residue, watch this. But you do know that the residue of your past trauma will never leave your life because it's all psychological, right? And it's up to you to shut that door. You can't, but even when you shut that door, sometimes it seeps up under there like smoke. And every now and then it comes out. Every now and then it comes out, and you have to be with someone that you can be listen. That's one of the reasons why you need to be in a relationship with someone that you can be transparent with. That's why you need to get to know each other outside the bedroom. See, because we're in a day and time now where everything is sexual. Everything is, I'm trying to get you real quick. I'm trying to put it on you. And if we, at this point in time, what about my mind? What is my favorite color? What is my favorite food? What are my allergies? What are my medications? See, I want to be with a woman that know the signs of a stroke. We sitting there eating dinner, eating steak, and and she's like, "Oh, you trying to be funny?" I'm having I need somebody to know the signs of a stroke. And see,
Or
that's what I'm
someone
saying
that
about.
just knows when something about you is abnormal. Just try to know what's abnormal.
The problem is, and this problem, it's a whole nother topic. Compatibility in companionship. Compatibility. Listen, compatibility in it's certain parts that you can't put on a Honda Accord that's supposed to go on a Lexus. See, there's certain things on certain cars that's for that car. And the problem is in relationships, we trying to put a Buick transmission in a Porsche, and we're trying to force it. And when it's not running right, we want to blame the car. But that's a whole nother subject. That's all. But we're going to get back to this wonderful book that I can't stop putting down. The reality of abuse, the aftermath, and the recovery. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for this to be a movie. I'm looking for this to be a Lifetime movie. I'm looking for me some Jennifer Hudson's or somebody to be up in here and go down through there with this. If Oprah Winfrey read this book, she would reach out to you. This would be the #1 book in the book club. I know for a fact, because not only is this book healing, but it helps you to understand the guidelines. This is a survivor. See, we got millions of people that's not survivors. We got millions of people that's in crazy houses. We got millions of people that's addicted to drugs and things to try to help sedate them, to keep them from thinking these thoughts that won't leave their mind. We have people that then killed themselves, suicide, homicide. I done killed me, you, kid, and a dog. What did Scooby-Doo do?
Well, let me tell you, not only that, but just don't think that because you get past that, trauma don't still stay attached. Because see, when you are chosen, your life, I promise you, I feel like Jobette, Paulina, Davina, all them great ones in the bottom, Noetta, all of those people that went through so much in their life, because see, the trauma just didn't stop there. See, when the devil he can't destroy you, he'll start coming down through your children. And look at how all this happened to me. November.
Let me ask you a question before I forget. Did this change the dynamics of how you viewed sex?
I never know, because I really didn't. I was a program, so it didn't bother me one way or another. Mm-mm. See,
sometimes it'll spill over to the point where you think the only way I can hold this man or hold this woman is through sex. I think this is what since this is what I was. And sometimes your mind, you have a conversation in your mind nobody see, and it'd be like, well, maybe this is the way I'm gonna have to keep them. Well, maybe I'm just gonna do this just to get it over with.
Now I did go through some of that, but it wasn't ever on that magnitude. It was when I think when God has chosen you, He protects you and you don't even know you're under his umbrella for protection. You think it's you doing it, but it really wasn't me. It was him that kept me from going through all of that for long durations of time. I did go through the phase where I'm going to get him before he gets me. I'm going to hold out on him so he'll want me, or let me go and give it to him. So whatever. You know, I did go through that, but it didn't stick long. But I want to get to people. I want to tell people that go through abuse at a young age. And when you're chosen, it's not going to stop. Do not think it's going to stop, because it's going to go down through your children, and it's going to hit you real hard. So you have to stay focused, and you have to remember, reflect back on your past, revisit your past, don't relive it.
Since we're winding down with time and we're talking about the reality of abuse and the aftermath of recovery with the Honorable Dr. Dorothy Patterson, I would just like to conclude with myself saying that congratulations for continuing to live this day in this reality and not allowing your past to dictate your present right now. Let me just say that you are a phenomenal woman. You are a queen of, man, you just don't know. You are the queen of writing in that inky epistle. This is, man, when I tell you this is an inky epistle of healing, you want to get this. I want to congratulate you. I want to let you know that the seeds of greatness are within you, that you continue to do what you're doing. We're looking for the workshop. We're looking for you to do even greater things. And not only are you a great writer, but you are an excellent orator. When I tell you, if you want any type of speaking skills and hosting skills, this is the person that you want to do. I've seen you in a whole kaleidoscope of areas in your life. And I want to let you know, I thank you for being my friend. I thank you for just allowing me the opportunity to just be privileged to get into some of the intimate things about your life that everybody don't know and everybody don't need to know. And I know this should be not only a part 1, we probably got to do a part 3 and 4 on this, because this is not something that you can do within an hour. This is not something that you can cover within an hour. This is something that has to be
with someone who is so passionate about it.
Oh, this book is, oh my God, this book is, man, this book is.
And y'all, he's not kidding. I wish I'm glad he's not kidding, because he calls me since he got this book, maybe 4 days ago? 4 days ago, and you have called me. He's called me every day. Wait a minute, girl. Wait a minute. Now wait, what? But that's him every day, y'all. And when he keeps picking that book up, that's the way he does it, for real. And for me,
the book makes you grab your chest. It makes you it makes you do. And I'm not even doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm like, my word. I'm like, I had to sit down this morning. I was reading. I had to sit down. I'm like, hold on, let me go digest this, because it's not one of these quick reads. It's one of the books that you'll have to read, and you're like, hold on, man, is this? What's going on? What is wrong with them? Because I believe that parental affection is a godsend. And I'm talking about, it can either be the big G or the little G.
Hey, Reggie, wait a minute. Before we get any further, because we got like two minutes left, we got to talk about what we're doing tomorrow too.
Oh, y'all, go ahead.
Well, now to add insult to injury, I have a son that was given a life sentence for
never been convicted of a crime, never been in trouble.
And
cum laude over college.
And serial rapist. And come to find out, DNA clears him, which I knew he didn't do it in the first place. Dallas County has given him a life sentence. And tomorrow we will be downtown at 600 Commerce Street doing a live press conference with Friendship West Social Justice Ministry, Just Cause Coalition, my son's chaplain there at the prison will be there. He's been with us throughout this whole thing. Reggie's been here with me throughout the whole thing. There's been and King Adonis, he's been here with me throughout the whole thing. And y'all come down so y'all can see how this stuff goes on. All of this is happening in this one city to me and with me. Like I said, tomorrow at 3:30, we will be down in front of at 600 Commerce Street doing a live press conference to show how this stuff can continue on and it can fester if you do not deal with it. I'm a social advocate now. I'm an advocate for abuse. I'm an advocate for the justice process. I'm an advocate for everything. So y'all make sure y'all come down there or tune in.
That's the George Allen building. That is the white George Allen building. 600 Commerce is it's actually the place where they do all of the child support cases and stuff. It's I just want to let y'all know that, even though the child support cases, 600
We got
Commerce.
we got 4 seconds. Well, we're gonna do this again. We'll be back next week with
part
this, okay?
one.
All right, we'll do a part 2. Y'all be blessed. We got to get out of here, and I'll call you in a few. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you so much.
All right, God bless.
There she go, there she go. The reality leaving truth, knowledge, wisdom. Shades on. There she go, there she go. The reality leaving truth, knowledge, wisdom.